Welcome back, Warriors. Hit that like, subscribe, all the buttons. Just push them all. We want them all. So do it.
Except the unlike one.
We were talking about in a different video relationships in the military, and we wanted to take a little bit extra time to talk about uh, the kids' point of view, or rather, what we need to do for the children. Um, so we'll just go from there. Warrior Waldo, you have knowledge and expertise in this particular situation. Not only do you have your own kids and you were there, you were able to see a lot more with kids than I ever could. What's like first thing off the bat? What do you think is the main potential issue with kids being in the that you're in the military and I guess subsequently they're part of the military system?
So the first thing that comes to my mind, Warrior Wookie, is I want to start with a little story.
Sure.
I was on my way on a deployment, and I would like to share the story because you were there. We would all meet at the airport and say goodbye to people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I had both my kids there with me, and I believe I entrusted you to take my kids home, or I can't remember how that happened, but I was saying goodbye to them. And my son, he'd seen me go before, because he kind of understood Dad goes away sometimes. My daughter, I don't think she understood what was going on at all. And I remember taking my daughter and putting her in your arms, saying, hold on to her, I want to say goodbye to her last.
Yeah.
And then when I put her in my arms, I looked at her, I started to cry. When you go on deployments, the kind that we go on, you understand you may not see them again because you may not be coming back. So it makes saying goodbye to your family in general, but especially saying goodbye to your little kids, because at the very minimum, you know what you're going to be missing out
Do
on.
you think? I mean, it's always hard to give a goodbye to your children. Could you put yourself in their shoes? Because we know, like you said, you were putting your the daughter who's younger than your son. Um, gave her to me so we could deal with things a bit differently than.
Yeah, I wanted to deal with my son first, then my daughter. I knew my daughter was going to be the hardest one, so I did her last. I put her in your arms.
So what was there anything that they were able to tell you? I know they were young, so maybe you didn't get as much information out of them. Was there something that now that they're older they could come back, remember, and ask you about?
The thing, because when I first started deploying, going to Korea and going to other places, social media wasn't a big thing yet, so maintaining communication was harder. My daughter has no memory of me before I think 4 or 5 years old
Okay.
because I was gone all the time. My
Oh.
son, it might be the same, although he's never expressed to me when he actually has memories of me. Um, But because social media came around, all of a sudden, and this is the main reason I want to do the video, is to maintain communication with your kids. Because you brought up holidays, I think, in the last video. You're going to be missing holidays, their birthdays, Christmases, Halloween, taking them trick-or-treating and all that.
Yeah.
Dad's not around. You're going to be missing a lot of those things, and they hit you so hard in the heart because you want to be there for them. Use every resource available to maintain communication with your children so they remember that you're there. So when you come home and later on in years, they do remember, oh yeah, you were gone this time, you were gone that time. It's not you were non-existent. My daughter cracked me up because she knows I went to Korea for a year. And from that point forward, for the next couple of years, whenever I had to go on another deployment at TDY, she would tell me, my dad's back in Carissa. I don't know why she pronounced Korea, Carissa, but that's what she did. She called it Carissa.
Kids are cute.
In her mind, that's where I was always going back to, but she was young. But That didn't happen until after I got back from my Korean deployment, she was 5 years old. Before that, I don't think she has any memory of me. When I came home from Korea, she played this little game where she'd hide behind her mom like I was some strange
Oh.
man. And that really hit hard, and it really stressed the importance to me is when you're missing those important holidays. First of all, I talked about building a foundation. Make sure we understand that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Your significant other could then help you with your kids. Your dad is gone. He really misses you. He's going to call you on your birthday and Christmas and send them presents the best you can from a combat deployment.
Sure.
And that's why you're thinking about them, and let them know that you exist in their life. Because, like I said, those forms of communication exist, and for several years, those first maybe 3, 4, 5 years, in their minds, I didn't exist.
Yeah, and that's gotta be
It's one
hard.
of the most
Doesn't even.
heartbreaking things that can happen.
Yeah, hard doesn't describe enough of the emotion that you're going through. Um, so you have two children. They're growing up, and you had a few deployments. You had a few TDYs that took a lot of time, and that's just part of what we go through in the military. For the kids, was it as they grew up? Was it easier to ask them and to tell them about the different things that you were doing,
Sure.
or was it just we're going to Carissa and and that was all what's going on?
Well, here's the thing: is it was easier, but then the problem becomes you're influencing their life. All of a sudden, you're not as able to influence them as much.
Oh,
Because they may be going through some difficult times that mom now has the burden of doing everything instead of dad or mom, if the mom's deployed,
sure.
being there to help out. I'm going to throw in divorce in this situation because that will make the separation between you and your kids even more profound. Obviously, in any marriage, regardless if you're military or not, if you're divorced, maintaining communication and being in your kids' lives is important. But when you're sent to a different duty station that you no longer can be with your kids and you're in another part of the country, and they're going through those years, their early teens, we'll call it, where they're kind of experimenting with things, and you're not there to guide them in the right direction.
Oh
The
yes.
burden's on the mom, and the mom, well, like I said, my kid's mother was a rock star. She did a great job. Still, the burden was completely on her, and you're not able to do it, and you know you're not able to do it.
That's got to be difficult to
And
think
so,
about.
once again, you have to maintain that communication and make sure you can influence them as much as you possibly can to guide them in the right direction.
So them, both of your children, and any child of a military member that deploys a lot or has to go, leaving a lot. Like I knew a guy that his father back in the late '70s, early '80s, was the personal chef for those presidents, and he was in the Air Force. It was really weird, but it happened back in the day. Um, do you think as they grew up, knowing that you would be gone, it was easier for them to join the military because they already experienced some of the, maybe we can call it culture shock for those like myself who'd never been around people in the military?
Of course.
Okay.
I would say it was easier because of my influence. It's like the military, if for no other reason, it's going to give you direction at where you may want to go in your life.
Yeah.
Now, on one case, one of my kids' direction was to become a badass like me and you, and he's probably going to make military a career, a 20-year career, and have that extra paycheck coming in for the rest of his life, not to mention free health insurance, and he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Hopefully my other kid will do that as well. But because they saw what I benefited from, I think it made them easier to make the decision. Whether had I not been in the military, oh dear God, Wookie, I don't know what choices they would have made. I don't know what I could have told them to be different. You know, it guided me to get me out of my house. It got me going a certain direction. So that was advice I could give them. And they got it from their mom and other people too. Look at
Sure.
dad, look at other people, because we both, me and my ex-wife, had people that had been in the military, and examples of how it affects your life. Uh, Great. I mean, positivity is the word I'm looking for. So, I think not just by me telling them, but I do believe, I think if you were to ask them themselves, they would say, watching what I benefit from it, it influenced their life greatly to join the military. Absolutely.
And that sounds like one of the best stories coming out of it. You see a lot of the individuals who have kids and then they get divorced, and you had touched on it. Them being in one place, like let's call it California, and the exact opposite, New York. If you're in Southern California and Los Angeles, you're not going to New York every other weekend to see your kids because that's just ridiculous. Even if you're in Northern
Oh,
California and then going to LA, that's like an 8-hour drive. So if you, like you said, if you don't have that foundation, what are you doing it for? Um, so as now that we're older in life, now that both of your children have gotten into the military, do you personally do you feel they have succeeded where others, like their friends from high school, have not?
oh my God, have they ever? Now, I'm not going to divulge our current location, but
Sure.
me and you both know what happens to people when they stay here and they grew up here and they wind up amounting to absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I really do believe that me being in the military helped influence their decision to join the military themselves, get out of this city or state, wherever you want to call it, we live in, and be influenced by other outside uh, job experiences and other potential things they could possibly do, and their horizons just expanded. There are other ways to do things other than live here and go down a bad rabbit hole that they could have gone down.
Sure. And I mean, if we think even kind of a larger meta part of this, anybody in any situation, if they want to get out of what their parents' house, when you're young, 18, or the parents are kicking you out or whatever. Sometimes people say the military is your only way, as if that was a bad thing, and then other people who've been in the military are like, this has changed me. So I imagine when you are trying to show your children, hey, if I can do it, anybody can. Um, that's got to be real comforting and maybe even satisfying to know that they could have that paycheck for the rest of their lives if they do the 20 years. They have the stability. Stability, we hear all day on dating shows. Women want stability, provisions, and protection. And somebody's in the military, that's kind of what they do.
Just imagine, for those who are not in the military, imagine at least making enough money where your house payment and all its utilities are paid for the rest of your life, because that's how much money you'd be getting.
Oh,
The rest of your life. Everything else is cake on top of it. Yeah, you're going to have the bills, if you go into debt, whatever, that's on you. But imagine that the rest of your life, that's going to be covered because you get a COLA allowance for being retired also. It's going to go up, up, and up. Does it keep up inflation? Yeah, it's debatable.
yeah.
But just the value of that, including the health insurance that you get with that people have to pay out of pocket for, that you don't once you're a retired military vet. We're talking thousands of dollars a month.
And even in these times, that's still quite a bit of money. If I had an extra $1,000 a month, then what could I could do more better pictures, more better pictures. Yes, that's what we're gonna go with because Wookiees are dumb. Um, there's just so many things that you can do now with that extra money, and everybody's trying to get their extra money spent someplace. But if you're smart, you can live off a very modest income, or you can go back and get a civilian job in whatever branch of
You
service
can
you were.
actually go back and get a second retirement.
Y- y-
You retire early enough in your late 30s, possibly even early 40s, and get a second retirement doing another 20 years on another job, and then you've got your Social Security on top of that. You want to talk about financial independence.
That's it right there.
So it's worth it to stay in. I know we're branching out to a different subject, but it kind of when it applies to my kids. I think I got one of them along the way. I'm working on the other. You've already been in this long, but in this more years, and you can now have that guaranteed paycheck to cover your living expenses the rest of your life. Not to mention the GI Bill. Now you can get your college paid for, get your degree, and by the time you're in your late 30s, you're still very young. The late 30s in this day and age is your late 20s.
Yeah.
You can still start a family if you wanted to, and have that income coming in guaranteed every month. I'm like sitting here politicking about going to the military, but I mean, you asked me about how I influenced my kids to go in the military. The
Yeah.
truth is, absolutely yes, I did. It was a positive experience, and they both went in.
And that's, if it's a positive for you, it's a positive for them, and they get to have that positivity. Whereas especially around here locally, there's a lot of negative. We go to different places of business. You can see some younger individuals that just look like they don't want to be there or whatever, and it's like you could have been I joined the military. The recruiter said, "Oh, hey, you can go around the world." What he didn't say was you can make stops off in cool places when you're going deployed to some terrible places.
Right.
So it just have having the children is an extra dynamic to the military life, and having the ability to be stable yourself and show them stability, like functionally stability. It must be very, very good for both the kids to say,
Right.
"You've seen this, you've seen it work. Try it out."
Now you need to make a decision. And if you're in a combat stressful career field like ours, you need to make a decision. Okay, am I going to bring this home and become this monster that the kids attribute to you being in the military, and they decide, no way, I don't want to become like dad? No, you need to take that consideration with your kids to make sure you do everything you can for your marriage and for your kids, for your family in general, to make sure you have everything documented, or not documented, but addressed and taken care of, because you want your kids to look at what you went through as a positive experience. You come home as a monster and you're yelling at them, and worse, you're beating them. And all of a sudden, and you let them know, well, this is the way I am because I was in the military. You think your kids are going to want to join the military?
Nope.
No.
And they'll probably not like you for a good
This
amount
is
of time.
what made Dad who he is. Now I want no part of that. It's absolutely a responsibility on the person in the military. If they would like to make this a part of a choice for their kids to make, you need to make sure they see it as a positive.
Sure. So, wrapping this up, what is one thing to tell those young warriors who are thinking about joining the military and are also trying to pre-plan their family situation regarding children?
We wrap it all together, right? When I start out with dating, create a foundation. This is what you're getting into. While we're in the marriage, understanding that there's going to be changes, there's going to be challenges. I mean, you need to agree to collectively and jointly trying to make those best we can. And should you decide to have kids, make them the ultimate priority and make sure that foundation is strong. Even if you get divorced, make sure the foundation as far as the kids are strong, and that you and their mother or mother or dad are one team, so the kids can't play one against the other. Make
'Cause they
sure they're
will.
one team, so when you lead them in the right direction, they can make they can go to college, but they're do whatever they want to do. But for military to be a choice of theirs, it has to be a positive one, and you is your responsibility as the deployed parent, the enlisted parent, it is your responsibility to make sure that's a good experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Warriors, for taking this time with us. We wanted to make sure that we got a little bit more information out to you because, I mean, it can change your life. So, like, subscribe, unsubscribe, don't like, something, engagement. Thanks a lot, Warriors. See